wise. Find your personal risk level. You can't afford to bet the farm on a trade, but if you trade like a pussy, you are never going to have a farm to bet in the first place. Right? Risk is very personal. On my swing strategy, I use 2% per trade. On my short term, it's 0.5% per trade. Now, on both of those risk levels, I've heard some traders argue that I'm way too conservative and risk way too low, and I've heard some people tell me I'm fucking way too aggressive. And everyone's going to have a different opinion. People will make those arguments based on their knowledge of the market, the edge they've got, the slippage they incur, and so on and so forth. There isn't a right answer to a lot of questions other than what is right for you. So it helps massively to know the metrics of your edge, like your strike rate. So you should start journaling. You see how everything comes back to journaling. But when it comes to risk, about all I could say is start small. You can always, up risk as you know more about your edge, but start small. Moving on, know your risk limits for each trade and whether they vary based on the setup. I think that's a very interesting one. I think it's often overlooked when people are teaching. A lot of people I encounter when I'm trying to help people are just randomly varying their risk based on absolutely nothing but their confidence level at the time, which I think is very dangerous, because the problem with that is many of you are too fearful when you should be confident, and you're too fucking confident when you should be fearful. So if you're just going to, on a whim, decide whether you're going balls deep or whether you're cutting your risk, I think it's dangerous. So I think to do it effectively, it comes back to knowing your edge. And when you know the trade metrics because you've got the stats on them, you can play with your size. And again, we're back at journaling. So it's something you should be doing in order to vary risk on setups somewhat more effectively than just going on gut feel. Knowing your risk limits for each day. I actually never really considered this until I was in prop and I was under the supervision of a professional risk manager, and they'd ask us these questions. Then obviously I had to, come up with an answer and stick to it. And I made it part of my plan to have, an amount on the day when I'm done. I think most people, when you've had too much of a beating, can probably drag yourself away from the monitors. But some people really need to get the shit kicked out of them before they give up. And, while that might be sort of a sign of heroics in a fucking street fight, it's not very clever in the market. I knew one guy that told me, oh, Tom, I've had a really bad day. I've stopped myself out for the day. And I said, okay, what's the damage? And he said, I'm down 7R on the day. And I'm like, well, how the fuck do you get 7R down? Like, really, there's not a point before that where you thought, I've done my arse here. I'm probably not reading the market very well, and I need to just stop myself out. I don't know. On my swing strategy, 2R down for the day and I'm done. I'm not saying my way is the right way. It's very much down to the individual. But the key thing is live to fight another day.